always thought of it as duty. Your numbers are everything as a chef. In that moment, you are by yourself.
Welcome to Pivot to Progress, where we hear real stories of real pivots made here in the UAE. And today we're joined by Chef Kuv, who went from designing buildings to building experiences by holding supper clubs here in the UAE. Chef Kuv, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I'm really excited about our conversation because I think your story and the experiences you've had are obviously very unique and very original. What I love about your story as well is that you didn't necessarily have that professional training to become a chef. You were trained as an architect before entering this space of hospitality. What made you decide to make a change?
In the UK, back then, you had some paid apprenticeships, and I was lucky to have one, and also lucky to have some great mentors, great guides, great principals who sort of guided my career here as well. So I was always looked after in that sort of sense. People knew as a young graduate from, there was very few from my university, as it were, and we were always sought after. So people say, oh, he's the new kid on the block, so must get him on the project. So, but that sort of vanity, I suppose, only lasts until things are great economically on a country level, I suppose. So the second economic downturn happened, and I would say it was a quick dive. Like, it wasn't even that you had any sort of time to prepare for that sort of time, because I worked with private companies. I own my own 2 companies back then. As an architect, when you practice, you build your own practices essentially, but it's sort of composed of people that you picked up from different, maybe they have other jobs, maybe they work freelance, maybe they're mums who stay at home. So that's how I'd sort of built these little teams. And twice before the economic downturn actually happened, I'd sold a company quite successfully, so it worked really well for me. But the second time was when the downturn was happening. It wasn't a fun time for anybody, even though we worked with private companies, private families, and private projects, smaller projects. It's the payments were delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, and I suppose there's nothing more than actual desperation that will tell you this is the time to sort of make a change. But when we were closing our companies officially, formally with the government, we had to sign a waiver, and the government official had told us too that once we signed this waiver, all the money that's owed to us by anybody, we're letting go of it, because you've legally the entity is now closed, so they owe nothing because the company doesn't exist anymore.
It felt very finite then.
Yeah,
knowing that,
and a big moment. But what had led to it was so much turmoil, so many sleepless nights, so much sort of time. And interestingly, the supper club, or myself becoming a chef, was happening around the same time as well. Truly speaking, I had absolutely nowhere to go, but I knew that I had to close this chapter. This had to go. This sort of link to this, we'll get paid tomorrow, or come back tomorrow, come back in a couple of months. We had to close that completely, because I don't want that anymore, because it's holding me back from whatever lies in the future. I had no clue that it would be this. The first couple of years of being a chef, working as a chef, I never addressed myself as one. People would say, "Oh, he's a chef," but I would never say Chef Kuv.
Why is that though?
Yeah, I think it's a weird thing. Maybe as an architect, I just remembered the years I put in. I often joke my 2 masters are not worth the paper they're printed on, but it did take a lot of work, and I enjoyed my studies as an architect. I enjoyed my work as an architect as well. So I suppose on a level, I felt I was not at par with people who are chefs, who practice every day, because I know how hard that job really is. On an emotional level, I suppose it was kind of like a protective thing too, to sort of to keep myself away from it, to look at it from a perspective of like, that's not me. Like, it will never be me. I'm still an ex-architect. I don't want to call myself a chef because I don't have the qualifications, because I've never gone to school to
So you would introduce yourself as, I'm Chef Kuv, ex-architect.
Yeah.
Now transitioning to being a chef.
I would say I'm your cook for this evening. Like, that's what I would say. Like, and I was, I suppose the intros weren't as fleshed out as well. It was more about the food. I was more food focused, and I wouldn't speak about myself because there was, I suppose, still the trauma that ex-architect. I didn't even want to say the word ex-architect. At some point, I wanted to go back into practice.
This is the thing, because you're standing at that precipice of like, okay, I'm no longer here as an architect anymore. That was one identity. You move into another one, though. What was it about the food space that made you realise like that's what you wanted to do versus anything else or a related industry?
I always point this to one instance. It had been about, I want to say, 2-ish years of doing this, of being a private chef. Initially, the motivation was I'll have some, instead of being delayed, having delayed payments by clients, I'd have cash in hand, so I could pay for my pay for something that's required right now, pay for the tires in my car, pay for petrol, pay for the smallest sort of things that I'd never ever had to worry about in my life. And I also didn't want to depend on my family or also depend on my dad as well. Like, as I said, like, forced into retirement, we've sort of spent everything in our savings as well, in my dad's savings too. So I didn't want to put that pressure. So that immediate cash meant a lot. But doing that had been 2 years. And was I comfortable with it? No, I suppose I was still anxious. Nobody saw that. This is very, very behind the scenes, behind the curtains, where I was, I suppose, crumbling there, because it is completely. I mean, imagine like you back in those days, you only have commitments from people on WhatsApp to say that I will join a dinner, but it's also. It's entirely up to them or their character to turn up, because if they don't keep their commitment, there's nothing to hold them to that at all. They don't turn up, so that means you don't get paid. So each dinner gave me such anxiety, but it was one of these. So 2-ish years into this, other factors came into play, because there were back then some other supper clubs started kicking off as well, I suppose, and I was coming from some form of bereavement as well, as still processing that. So my idea at the table was to create a safe space for people, to create a place where people can have conversations, when people can have heart-to-hearts without any agenda, and the only agenda being good food. That was me. Like, as that there would be a table that whatever they needed would be provided to them, because I was the waiter as well back then. So whatever drinks need to be topped up, or so however you need to be looked after, I'm there to look after them. But it was about creating that sort of safe space for them that I suppose I never had. One of these occasions, I'm washing dishes. And quick math, let's say it's 10 people, and it's 10 plates per person, so that's 50 plates of food. So washing each one of them before I leave home to go back home to Sharjah. It was 3 a.m. I can't hear anything at all, but all I can hear is the literal sort of creaking of my knees. It makes no sense that at this age, in my late 20s, that I should have that my knees should hurt. But that's because I've been working so hard that I wash dishes every single day. These many,
because you really wanted this to work, essentially.
I mean, on a subliminal level, I suppose I did. But I knew that I just had to live paycheck to the next paycheck. I asked myself, am I happy doing this? It's fine, like it costs my body, but am I happy doing this? And the resounding sort of feeling of warmth, that's the only way I can describe it, was yes, I'm happy. This is where I need to be. This is where I should be. And that was a very important moment that led to the whole sort of instilling some belief in myself and my business, and everything happened. And all good things, I suppose, truly happened after that.
You know, a lot of our food experiences also comes from our family, our travel experiences as well. And I know if we look at that timeline, it was 2014, the time of that downturn that you were referring to, and you've mentioned about bereavement. How did you use food as a form of therapy, maybe, to help you push through, to help you go through that grief?
It's so beautiful because food is therapy in that sense. Each plate of food, if it's powerful enough or if it's mindful enough, can take you to that place and give you some form of healing and comfort, and that how can I say it? Like it's like a blanket on your belly, almost. You know, that sort of thing. Not having mum around anymore meant the only thing that acted as a salve, I suppose, on that wound was recreating those same recipes, keeping her memory alive through the flavors that she created. So that also meant like staying super strict on the recipes. You can't break her recipe. This is the exact recipe. I must follow that. Who knew I was sort of low key sort of preparing for what I was going to be. My dad is diabetic, so it's all controlled by diet. So knowing how the what do you call them, the macros, knowing the nutrients, the fine breakdown of things was very important. How much fiber, what are things necessary for that? And of course I was eating the same food too, so I knew it was really great for me. Food was not just therapy then, food was also medicine. It's a great sort of understanding of that as well. It's all of this was happening in the back. And eventually I would rather say my work as a chef, because back then, of course, I had the recipes from my mum, but then as a chef, when I started working with the supper club, these were recipes that I had created. These were recipes that belonged to me. It wasn't. It was recipes that I knew work, I suppose, and it was interpretations of them in different, let's say, through different cuisines, or through, like, let's say if you know how to make a tortilla, you don't necessarily always have to make a tortilla to make Mexican cuisine. You can sort of make other breads as well, that then appeal to other cuisines. So that's the kind of sort of basic knowledge I was using to create these menus. And each time through this process of creation, I suppose it was again acted as a salve for that architect who still did not want to give up, for the architect who still wanted to practice. So in a way, I was creating design. I was creating this avenue of expression through that food, and it was, to this day, is so healing, is so powerful. Honestly, because most of the times you write recipes, like at least in my case, I write a lot of recipes. I write a lot. It's a common thing. I like to do it too. It has been throughout my career as a chef, write the recipes, and then of course when it comes to ingredients and things, it's only when you sort of put it into practice it would make sense. But the whole process of putting pen to paper and then eventually sort of cooking it and then tasting it is so rewarding, and it reinstills that sort of belief in yourself, reinstills that thing that, oh, I can actually do this.
Yeah. That inner conviction, essentially, as well, that's so needed when you start out as well. And, listening to your responses just now, there seems to be the obvious bereavement of losing your mum, but there's also that saying goodbye to that career that you had trained for in architecture. So it was like a double grief, double bereavement in a way as well.
But sorry, like I said, I just had this sort of the emotion rush over me. Like I said, I don't know why. When you said it is what sort of put it into perspective. I've never looked at it in that sort of way. I always looked at it as my 10,000 hours, as a time that you have to put in. If I have to create experiences, if I have to create these dishes, it makes sense. I need that kitchen experience, and that was me just on my own. So much of this work was on your own. Like, people don't realize like how much of, no matter how many pivots you make, it is you, nobody else. And you can have your friends, your family, everybody's always there to have your back, but that. It may come from a broken place. It may come from a place of power. It may be fueled by your education, your past experiences, whatever it might be. but in that moment you are by yourself, and it is you have to sort of tap into some sort of power that I don't think we mere mortals have.
It goes beyond passion as well. Do you
Beyond.
think that? Like,
Absolutely.
when you're doing all the different dishes, you mentioned about your knees and
Yeah.
all of that. So if it goes beyond passion, then what is it?
Passion doesn't last. That's the thing. Like, I think passion just changes. It's like fire. It can transform, but it can also burn. It can burn out as well. And I think of it more as duty. I've always thought of it as duty, as something way more powerful, almost as much as my personal spiritual practices. There is A, B, C. There are these processes to how I follow my spiritual practice, and very much the same thing as a chef as well.
Looking to the actual pivot, it sounded like you were like 2 years of training for this, not realizing this is what you were going to do,
Sure.
but it was helping you therapy-wise.
Yes.
It was helping you, giving you a purpose by the sounds of it as well.
Yeah.
So then what were the practical steps that you had to take? Because the supper club scene back then of 2018 and before in the UAE wasn't as prominent as it is now. So how did you make yourself known to people? How did people find you? How did you go about getting your ingredients, your menus?
Your numbers are everything as a chef as well.
So talk us through that then.
Because again, Instagram won't tell you that, or social media won't tell you that. This is if your numbers, if you don't, even at the back of my head, like now that there's a team, and now I'm answerable to my legal sort of team as well. So everybody sort of will always sort of ask, like, and off the cuff as well. Tell me about this chef, like, and everybody thinks like, okay, they can probably catch me out on my numbers and things, and the truth is, like, no, actually my numbers are always pretty accurate, because the traditional sort of thing is, you put in let's say about 35% of whatever the ticket price is towards ingredients and such. That's your sort of golden ratio. If you're able to play under that, then you're able to make a little bit of money. That's truly the sort of way, because the costs are so high of everything. I have staff who have grown. They've got married. They've had families since they've been with me. There has to be a certain high level of ingredients as well that you have to maintain too. So there's a cost of that of those things as well. But still, no matter where the costs go, like, you have to sort of know that, okay, this is how much money you've spent on a particular ingredient. This is how much it's going to cost in the next month or so. I've always kept seasonality as a huge thing as well. So what's seasonal, what produce is sort of available. I work with local farmers. That's a very important sort of thing as well. So people always say, like, it must be cheap, it must be very expensive. I would say it's somewhere in the middle, because it costs so much time to actually procure those ingredients, because there isn't really sort of clear sort of channels where you could sort of beep bop boop, like, sort of order things and send things arrive from a farm. They don't. You have to work you have to change, I suppose, you're constantly with when you're working with local farms and local farmers. But it is one of those things that works really well for my work as such. Initially, like, the costs were not just these things. The costs were so super high. Yes, I was able to pay for my petrol, but at the same time, I was also paying for new plates. I was paying for cutlery. I was paying for glasses, because these are all the things that I would take to people's homes.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the costs have evolved into different things, where there is fresh flowers on the table, which are super expensive. So I've had to sort of find ways of hacks almost to keep the flowers alive for longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of those things. Our legal entity here is Splidu. That's how we sort of work, and they sort of look after those things. Setting up and things is tricky. You do need certain certifications. I would say, like, even before you go into the kitchen, there are some local certifications that are not difficult as well that you can do.
Do you still need those certifications even if you're trying to do it as a hybrid? You know, you're doing supper clubs alongside a 9 to 5?
I would say yes, because it's very basic food handling sort of certifications, but I would say 100% yes, because it's a I was lucky enough to work on the strategies way back. I would say maybe 6 years back now, with the government to consult on a couple of things, like why these things need to put into place. So, and I believe in them, because you'd be surprised, like, because of how many, again, like if it's motivated through Instagram or motivated by social media that I must become a chef, well, like even then you must still sort of have a small checklist of sort of how to you know abouts in the kitchen, and they have to be the same for everybody, I would say. For most people, if you look at the model, if someone was to do, because I'm such a sort of research-driven person, so if somebody was to look at this from the outside, they would see that it's all social media. It's all about the Instagram presence. It's all about the little sort of stories and things that you can do. I think that can only get you so far, because it's a flawed model that as you said, like now it's a vibrant scene. Back then there was nothing at all, and there were possibly one or two other people, and nobody was actually doing it to pay their bills. I was the only person, so I suppose I had that added motivation as well of survival, and there's also the dedication to something too, because if you know that is something that's paying your bills, you treat it with a level of respect. That it is a craft at the end of the day. As an architect, yes, like I wasn't actually building the buildings, I was designing them, but here it was with my own two hands, where every single thing, to this day we practice the same thing, right? Like in my kitchen, I'm lucky to have assistants now, but we still practice the same thing, that every single thing that you see, every single ingredient will be processed, will be made by us. We will do it. That's the level of respect I want to bring to my craft always. But having a camera next to me to sort of document each one of those processes is not necessary. That's what people think that's what people think that creates the sort of content and things. But no, because the end user, the person at the table, will know. We've never done this for influencers. Inshallah, I won't do it in the future as well, because that is the quickest way as well. Get a couple of influencers, get a couple of followers and things, and that's how things work for you. No, because I do not want, if I'm doing a non-pretense thing, I would love for people to bring that sort of level of generosity, that level of openness, that level of candid sort of sharing to the table too. And that's what people do. To this day, people do, allowed to ask, what do you do? Where are you from? How long have you been to Dubai? I know, like, these questions have been applied by many other supper clubs too. Why not? It's not like I own a copyright, but these questions then sort of really limit people, and at the same time allow them to show a completely different side of themselves.
Well, exactly, because those are very typical networking questions, yes, and in the right context are the
Correct.
right things to ask. So how did you create a community versus a group of people around a table having a shared experience of eating?
It's so beautiful. Because it truly has become that. Right in the beginning, there were three things I would always write about: conversation, community, conversation, and community. Cuisine came in a little bit later, when I was confident enough to call it something, and then someone just for fun sort of, it's not cuisine anymore, it's cuisine.
What is cuisine?
Right? It's just a terrible pun, but but also it's also like it's a lovely. It's endearing in a way, because I like to break molds. I like to break the traditions, but still keeping traditions intact. Still sort of paying homage to, let's say, if it's Korean culture, then it is Korean culture. I don't have 16 other ingredients from other cultures coming to the thing, because that's just a level of appropriation that I don't think any of us can afford in the world we're living in right now. We need to preserve our cultural identities as much as possible. Be ambassadors for each other's cultures too, not just for ours. And inadvertently, it's not just me, this community of people who know now that if they turn up at my table, they will have these open-hearted conversations, and create a safe space without even knowing it. These people they're so accustomed to not just being a spokesperson for myself, but for other cultures too. Say for Korean, there are people who've been to Korea and they said, I did not like the food. That was not something that I liked. But because you had it on the menu, I wanted to see what it's going to be like. And now they've become the biggest ambassadors for Korean cuisine, for Korean culture as well. And I've not been to Korea. That's the interesting sort of thing that
It's on the bucket list.
It is on the bucket list for sure. All the places that I've created menus for, I want to visit them for sure. Again, sort of treating your work with a level of sort of respect, without sort of caring about social media, without caring about like, okay, the scaling up is important, yes, but that doesn't just happen overnight. It has to be a great product. The people, the end users, as I was saying, will know. I genuinely have had this from food photographers, from people who are recipe creators. Just create something that looks great on camera. Nobody's going to taste it. And that makes no sense to me, because it's ingredients. It's at the end of the day, it is limited finite resources that I'm putting into a plate. Why not? Maybe if it's just for the camera person, maybe it's just for the two of us, or maybe it's just for my team. It has to make sense. It has to be delicious. I'm a professional at the end of the day. So people will know. Flavor is king. People will always know what's in the plate of food. So you can't lie about sort of things. So yes, scaling up sort of happens, but it in my case, honestly, it genuinely sort of happened organically. Pun intended. And so it happened organically. People started telling other people. The rich and the famous, as it were, in Dubai, to this day, keep this thing amongst certain circles, certain groups, because it's true. Like, I'm notorious for refusing jobs. Notorious, because I don't accept like all jobs. No, like so I think. As much as sort of I bring a level of craft as well, and I want the host to measure up to the same as well. If you don't care about food, if you don't care about this, then I don't need to be in your house. It's as simple as that. Or cook for your guests. There are so many other chefs now. There's two for a penny. But
I was going to say name names, but don't name names. Don't fall for that. We'll put that bit on the back burner. I can do puns as well. I know.
But I mean, it's such a flawed sort of thing, right? I feel so sad that I feel like people, young chefs especially, or young people, have been given this wrong sort of idea that everything happens through Instagram. Instagram and followers and likes does not pay bills. It's as simple as that. While you have a lovely cushy job on the side, and that can sort of pay for your bills, so you can do your passion and sort of enact your that seems great, but you can only do it for some time. It won't last very long. There has to be your product will speak for itself. It will scream for itself. And that's when more offers sort of come in. I suppose the only scaling up I did was just add a few chairs to the table. That's it. Otherwise, it has been a natural sort of progress towards, let's say, menus that are accessible to people and menus that are slightly less accessible as well. Because there will always be clients. I've been very lucky to have clients right in my almost 10-ish sort of years journey, who've been with me from way back when I used to be one person in the kitchen, till today, where I have a few other people as well, and they want different menus. And they say that, no, like, let's say I have a dignitary, I have a foreign dignitary visiting the country, and I would love for you to create a menu. Budget's not a problem at all, and that's when you sort of go to like, okay, $300, something like that per person, something like that. So that's the only budgeting, I suppose. The only scaling up sort of thing that has happened.
There are so many different cuisines that I've tried when I've come to your home for the supper clubs. How do you make sure that these cuisines are being used and shown in a way in which they are appreciating cultures versus appropriating them?
I love that question, because it is something that I have to think about constantly. It's almost like I have to be like, you can't do that. Like, it's just not okay, because there is. I come from a different culture too, so it's not so there is appropriation of the Indian cuisine, if you can use an umbrella term even for that, because as big as the country is, it's just as varied as well in terms of cuisine. But it has also led to the appropriation of so many ingredients and so many recipes. And it's so unfortunate when I said, I call it the big C word, when to this day, like, I'll come across some chefs sort of use turmeric in their food, and they call it, oh, I've used curry. And I have to sort of then ask them, like, oh, so what's curry? Oh, it's turmeric. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like an entirely different ingredient that's used by so many cuisines.
Yeah.
So whereas with curry, what you're trying to say is it's Indianish. That's what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. So there is this sort of, I suppose I can list like a set of rules that I follow almost that I will never ever do. If it's called something in a certain cuisine, I will learn that word. I will learn how to say it properly. If it's my basic research of recipes always goes down to mum's blogs. I always read mum's blogs online. It's not sort of chefs in white jackets, as much as, yes, that's inspirational, but it's mums who will...
Is that your key to success? The unknown key to success?
100%. Okay. 100%.
So
base it.
Sorry, go for it.
Just base it on the real professionals who have unprofessionally been working behind the scenes to keep this entire planet alive. Mm-hmm. It's them who've been doing the unpaid job of looking after families, the unthanked job of looking after clans, I would say, even to this day, without wearing a chef's hat, without using the word chef as well. Where it's like it's 5 hours of cooking and 5 minutes of eating, and it's done, and then not even a thank you to that person, and that person thinks, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. So they just take it in their stride. So I would 100% say that if there is a key to success to my story, it's been to rely on that culture that comes from women. It's there. It's funny how the two things are so interlinked as well when we speak about any culture. Think about it, right? Like I say, let's say the Indian culture. I'll take my own culture first. So the Indian culture, the all pan India. You have different ways of men how they dress themselves. But to this day, you will sort of point to how women drape their saris to say what part of India they come from. That is what tells you. It's not the men. The men can sort of wear your sort of the traditional sort of garment sort of just changes slightly, but it's the women. So truly, the spokespeople, the representations of our culture have always been women all over the planet, I would say. So if there's anything that allows me to be very careful with appropriation, to be and to almost treat them as treat the culture as a sacred subject, it's sort of respect towards the people who've made that culture, which is women, which is mums.
Absolutely. And then looking at how other people might want to join you in that space of having a supper club, what advice would you give them? What would be your top 3 bits of advice?
10,000 hours, like as before you have
broken down into 18 minutes a day, by the way. That is.
Yeah. It's for how long?
18 minutes a day.
18 minutes a day. That's it.
Yeah.
For how long?
However long it makes up 10,000 hours. Don't try and make me do mental arithmetic.
No, I'm rubbish at it too. Because I just
I didn't get that gene passed down from my mum to me.
Oh, wow. Not from my dad
Neither
as well.
Neither from my dad. Those two are the ones that do mental arithmetic.
I remember you said about your dad
me,
too.
Not me, unfortunately. Calculator.
Yes, true, same. If you break it down as well, as you said, 18 minutes a day, can you not spare that for your craft? Can you not? I would sort of happily sort of potter around the kitchen for hours. So other than the 10,000 hours of dedicating to your craft, one person, like it's like a horse running towards that finish line. There is nothing else that can stop you. There's nothing else that can distract you. There is no jockey. It's you. You are the jockey. You are the horse. You are the driver. You are driven. Everything is you. And it's that kind of level of perfection that you want to achieve in your work. The second thing I would say is the level of respect and level of love. You have to. Do you have to? I suppose, yeah, you have to find that level of fulfillment, I suppose. there's no way of doing anything, I suppose, in this world where everything is so difficult. I wouldn't say like just being a chef, like you change the hats and change the professions, everything is difficult. It is tough to survive in this world right now, and it's the only way you can is by finding those mindful things, by finding those things that give you that sort of sense of love and gratitude, and it gives you the sense of grounding, and that has been very important in my job. So if I were to pass this on to any young person, I would say, yes, other than that, the sort of dedication and the hours spent in the kitchen, the experience is also finding those sort of moments of mindfulness as well. I would never want anybody to go through the levels of anxiety that I did to get to this level. So just have that on your checklist quite early on. The last thing I would say is knowledge. And because that is endless, and yes, it's open-ended, but knowledge of other cultures, knowledge of other. If you have the love and see, if you have step 2 where it's the respect and love, if you have that towards yourself, you will have that towards other people as well. It's as very simple as that. If you have that towards your work, you will respect other people's work too, and that's when. If you come to step 3, to sort of learning about other cultures, learning about other ways of processing, it's the same wheat, but then it can make so many other things as well. If you sort of bring that level of respect towards all those different ways, you will not only grow the size of your heart to contain all that sort of different levels of love, but also have that build your own knowledge as well. So at the drop of a hat, like you can say, I know this recipe, I know this recipe, I know this recipe. Of course, none of them mean anything till you can actually put it into practice, but that's when the 10,000 hours come into work as well. Before you have these things as your checklist, I don't think anybody should be sort of professionally cooking for anybody at all, to be very honest with you. People think like it's like read a few recipes. It's great to read recipes as well, but then until you sort of put into practice for yourself and really have a discerning palate for yourself, that no, this is my standard. If the people find it weird, but it's true. It's at least it's true for me. I've had some music training since I was a child. So you have to hear your food. So it's not just the crisp of a biscuit, it's also you hear the crisp of the biscuit as well. That will tell you. So yes, like a cookie, what's the difference between a cookie and a biscuit? As a biscuit, as a British person, that's an interesting sort of topic. But if you read a recipe and you see that, okay, today I'm making biscuits for myself, that's fantastic, great. What is the sound that it makes as well? I like that level of sort of finesse. I would love for somebody to have, because I will ask those questions as an end user. If somebody were to cook for me, I will ask those questions. Did you think about that? If you do not think about that, then why are you giving this to me?
Oh gosh. Okay. Actually, I'm going to start asking you this next time I go.
Please do.
So, Chef
Please
Kuv,
do.
as you said, I'm going to test you.
For the rest of the crowd, I would love to tell them.
Absolutely. If you could lend a mistake to somebody so that they don't have to make that error as well, what would it be?
Emotionally, if you feel like there are some sort of issues, especially anxieties and such, I would say check them right away. That's to start working on them. Bring as much mindfulness into your practice as much as possible.
And you're an early adopter to the underground food scene, supper clubs, etc. Is it still a viable business for somebody wanting to start in 2026?
It will always be something that can sort of help support you financially and professionally as well. But you just have to sort of really have a checklist of what do you want from this as well. If you want a restaurant, that's a very different pathway. If you want to have a creative expression, then I would say that maybe doing it for a culture is more meaningful. That to expect. Like, let's say it's an expression of a culture. You want to share your culture, your sort of story with people. Yes, it does make sense for it to be a proper viable business here.
And fill in the blanks. Before I pivoted, I thought
this was impossible. Before I pivoted, I thought that I will never be able to pay my bills doing this whatever. But here we are.
And what's that connection between being an architect and cuisine? Because the plates that you actually make out are like beautiful. The food, the plating, everything. So is there a connection between the two?
Thank you. There really, truly is, because it's not just your creative expression. It is, for me, still creating a design experience, a designed experience for the end user. As an architect, so much of my work, so much of any architect's work actually remains in paper, and it never sort of sees light of day. But my work as a chef, I'm able to create that experience, create almost a piece of architecture. But architecture is not just buildings, it's also the feeling that you get from in a building. It is you're being led to a certain design, so to experience a certain design. I create the same experiences in plates now, so it is it's still the same in a way that I get the same sort of sense of satisfaction. The only thing is, like, of course, once it's eaten, it's gone. It's something that remains in your heart. It's something that remains in your memory, and I suppose that's more sacred in a way as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me as well. And also for the advice that you've given for any other aspiring chefs as well, any other architects wanting to become chefs too as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's so kind. Like you, it's from the moment we met. Like I said, I suppose I knew I was in the presence of. No, I was in the presence of celebrity. So. No. Like you have this. You have an interesting sort of way of handling yourself, because there's always kindness. So it's inspirational in that sense that you handle yourself professionally. You're always so presentable. You're always so, but it all comes from a place of kindness, not from a place of like, what do I appear as a person to other people? No, it's from like knowing that Sarah is a kind person, and that shines through in everything that you do. So I'm so grateful that you had me here as well.
Thank you so much. Don't make me cry, please.
No, I was there earlier, so revenge.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, Chef Kuv, thank you so much for sharing your blueprint. Yeah, I had to get another pun in. Your blueprint for how you went from being an architect to becoming a chef. And you know what? Use that blueprint. Use it for yourself. Use it, adapt it as well, and see what works for you. This is a new podcast, so I'd really appreciate if you can leave a comment, subscribe, definitely subscribe. And also, share this with other people so that you can help them along their pivot journey. And remember, don't stay stuck, pivot.